Hello and welcome to the VentureForth podcast. I'm your host, Joe Mahavuthivanij. We'll be chatting with some of the most interesting founders, startups, and VCs about the experiences that led them to where they are today, what they're currently working on, as well as the journey ahead of them. Hey VentureForth listeners, today's episode is a little bit different. The vast majority of my past guests have been involved in Silicon Valley in some way, funding, building, and selling some of tech's greatest businesses. My guest today is not from the tech world. He is Peter Tang, managing partner of GoldLok Vodka, one of America's newest craft vodka brands. GoldLok Vodka may not be your typical tech startup story, but I want to share Peter's journey of hustle and perseverance in his journey to creating an iconic luxury liquor and how he attracted some of sports, hip-hop, and Hollywood's hottest as clients. He's also got one of my favorite Instagram accounts because he's always surrounded by beautiful cars, famous people, and an amazing lifestyle. Without further ado, I'm excited to welcome Peter Tang to the show.
Hey everybody, how are you? Thank you for having me, Joe. I really appreciate it.
So I'd love to start by learning a little bit about your background because from what I know about Instagram, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so most of my Instagram content that you'll see, I do have a full-time job. And you know, I treat it as pretty much a business within a business. I work for Eurocar. We're one of the largest exotic car dealers in pretty much almost the nation, I would say. But around town out here in Orange County, California, we're probably the biggest in town. So we have a lot of fun here. You know, we meet a lot of amazing people. And it's also led me to, you know, the opportunity to work with GoldLok.
So I'm personally a huge car enthusiast, and so I have a couple of questions before we get into the GoldLok piece. You know, so what is the most expensive rare car that you guys have had in the collection?
There's a couple cars on the market right now. I mean, you'll see this stuff like the Bugattis and you know the Paganis and the Koenigseggs and whatnot. I personally haven't sold any of those through here, but we'll constantly have all the pieces like the Ventadors and, you know, the top of the line Ferraris, the Speciales, stuff like that. Our inventory, I guess, can range anywhere between, you know, 50, 60,000 all the way up to close to around $700,000 to $800,000 as far as car values goes. Yeah, and it just depends. If there's something that we feel that we can represent and offer, you know, through our brand, our Eurocar brand is a really, really nice car. I guess the latest car I would say that sticks to my mind, maybe like a Porsche Carrera GT. I mean, that's a beautiful car.
So yeah, I mean, if I was looking for something super rare and exotic, I think I know where to go.
Absolutely, appreciate it.
I think the thing I really wanted to talk to you about today was about GoldLok Vodka, which you're a managing partner for. What did you know about the industry before getting involved in the company? And could you give us a little bit of history and where the name came from, et cetera?
Yeah, sure. So GoldLok Vodka, well, as far as what I knew about the industry, I knew absolutely nothing other than the consumer side because I'm a consumer and I drink a lot of alcohol. But other than that, I just saw the potential. I mean, during this time, you're seeing so many brands grow, especially new brands, you know, such as Ciroc, Tito's, and there's a lot of new emerging brands out on the marketplace right now that are doing really well. About 5 years ago, there was a brand called Casamigos that was launched by George Clooney and a partner of his, and now I think recently they sold 5 years later for $1 billion. So, you know, that's not a bad endeavor, huh?
Not at all. So then what about GoldLok?
Well, with GoldLok, the reason why I got involved was I felt like it was very different from what was out there, your traditional vodkas, you know, the bottle and the presentation and the actual content of the alcohol is absolutely amazing, you know, and I wanted to share this with everybody and find a way to truly build this as a lifestyle brand. You know, and we just had to make sure that we had to protect it and go about it the right way and just not get it out there and represent it in the wrong way, you know. So this is something that we know is very, very special. We've showed plenty of people that are involved in this industry. I mean, this is a very big industry, and it's been around a very long time. A lot of the big players in this industry have a lot of money, and they'll slap you around with it if they get the chance. But there's a lot of the liquor companies date back hundreds and hundreds of years, so they've been around a long time, and we've just entered the market. It's about 2 years or so. So it's still a brand new company, but it's slowly growing, and right now, it's doing pretty well. We're in Vietnam. Vietnam's one of our big markets because the founder of the company, his name is Loc Nguyen, hence GoldLok, but the LOK is supposed to stand for life and knowledge, because that's what he believes in. He believes in the pursuit of knowledge, and there's a little bit more behind the brand and what we're about than just the gold the gold pretty bottle.
Interesting. I had no idea that it was initially started by a Vietnamese founder. So was this a brand that your team created, or was this imported from another country, like from Vietnam? Where is the origin of the vodka?
I could tell you a little bit about Loc's story. So Loc, he's one of my mentors, his family to me, and basically he's been in the nightlife industry. He's like one of the big names in the nightlife industry, nightclubs. Started off as a promoter, just straight hustle. I mean, he's the definition of the hardworking American dream. So started in the nightlife industry and started to see what people were drinking and what was being ordered the most, and everyone's ordering the Grey Goose bottles because vodka is really easy to drink and everyone loves it, and he also started to see as far as what people like to order that were the big spenders, and Ace of Spades was huge, anything with gold in it was huge. So we thought, hey, why don't we combine the two? He thought, why doesn't he combine the two and come out with a really great tasting vodka that has a very presentable bottle, and you get the best of both worlds. You get a premium vodka, you get a nice flashy bottle in the nightclub. When people bring it out, they're always looking at it like, hey, what bottle is that? And that's how we feel like the success is starting to kind of fruition.
Interesting. So you mentioned that GoldLok was a unique flavor and a unique brand. There's tons of super premium vodkas out there. So what makes GoldLok unique?
Yeah, there's so many different brands, thousands and thousands of brands of vodka, right? But what I feel is unique with GoldLok and how I think we're going to be able to compete with the rest of the shelf space, next to the Grey Gooses and Tito's and the Cirocs, is that we're 100% organic. It's distilled from sugarcane, so it's not your traditional potatoes and wheat distillation process. So sugarcane gives it a little bit of a natural sweetness to it, and so we're able to have that organic certification. So it's a healthier solution, I think, to consuming alcohol.
Interesting. So has GoldLok been through blind preference tests with other vodkas?
We have, and we've done blind taste testing, just within small little focus groups and amongst friends and family. Nothing really on record or anything, but we're always up there. To be honest, there's a lot of great tasting vodkas out there. Ciroc's a great tasting vodka. Tito's is phenomenal, But GoldLok, when we put them in the mix and blind taste testing, we're split probably 50-50 between Tito's and us. It just comes down to personal preference on someone's taste buds. But ours is really smooth when you mix it, with other, when you make cocktails out of it, you could barely really taste the alcohol. I definitely need to send you some bottles.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I can't say no to that. So I want to talk a little bit about branding and marketing, because those are things that you touched on, and obviously super important when you're either at the club and they're bringing you the bottle and really conveying like the lifestyle that you want to be associated with. When I was in high school, my friends collected Absolute ads. They would dress up the bottles and have very unique ads. And obviously, like, they were too young to drink it at the time. And I first heard about things like Cristal in rap videos and Avion in the show Entourage. And so brand it seems to be a huge contributor for whether a liquor penetrates the mainstream. So how much of the liquor business is marketing, and how much of it is in fact a superior product?
It's all marketing. Everything is marketing nowadays. I mean, as long as people see it, I've gone through this journey with, I don't have a marketing background, I didn't even go to college. So everything for me is all just straight school of hard knocks, out on the street, learning day by day, learning from the best, and I'm blessed to have the opportunity to learn from so many different entrepreneurs and guys that are phenomenal at marketing and building content. We've been able to do this with, a very, very small budget. And the great thing about what we've done, if you go on our social media and, you type in the GoldLok hashtag, you'll see just so much organic engagement with people just going out there and posting the bottle, because it's a very, very nice looking bottle, and within a year, I've looked at other brands, and not to compare us with them, but as far as, social media engagement, we're blowing a lot of brands that have been out for only 2 years out of the water as far as, organic posts that are happening, with our loyal consumers and brand supporters on, platforms like Instagram and Facebook.
Interesting. So is that a major part of the marketing strategy to bringing the product to the general marketplace? And ultimately, who is your target market that you're trying to get it to?
Our target market really, these are always things that are always going to constantly change and we have to adapt to. So as this is growing, because I never did this before, right? So I went into this blind, and everyone assumes that this is very simple and it's very easy, but until you get into it and until you actually put in the work, it's quite challenging, because we have to see how certain demographics react to our product. We see what demographics we feel will do well with our product, and we also have to protect ourselves from making sure that we represent our brand the way that it's intended to be represented. And for us, we want people to feel good, when they have the bottles in their hands. We want people to feel great about showcasing the product or having the bottle on display, in their homes. When people walk into their homes, they're going to be like, "Oh, wow, what bottle is this?" And that happens all the time. People pick it up. They're like, "Wow, this is amazing." Every event we do, they always grab the bottle and like, "This is a beautiful bottle." And when they try the alcohol, they're like, "Wow, this is absolutely amazing." And right now it just really comes down to, the politics of the liquor business itself. That's a whole nother subject and challenge that we can touch on. But I want the people to understand what the brand is about and building a lifestyle of just living gold, and living gold can mean a lot to different people. It's just how our product speaks and how this product makes you feel. And it can touch any demographic. It can touch any, the younger generation, like the millennials, where they like the flashy bottles, or it could touch the older demographics where they like the classiness of the actual bottle itself, And so we're able to touch on different markets, I guess you can say. Or as far as our marketing goes, we're really trying to figure out what the best avenue is to take, and that's why we've been a little quiet lately on social media, but not because we haven't really been focused on pushing the brand. We've just really trying to find out how we're going to align properly and strategically who we choose to align it with.
So, I mean, we've been speaking a lot about the bottle, but I'd like to paint sort of a picture of what that lifestyle is like. So the bottle itself is, completely gold, and frankly, it kind of reminds me of like a champagne bottle, something you might drink as a celebratory cocktail. Although, like, looking like a champagne bottle, I might pour myself a tall flute of it, but that's not how it's meant to be drank. Really want to help the listeners understand what the bottle looks like and how special it really is. I'm guessing that GoldLok is priced comparably to its target competition. So ultimately, how do you get people to order a GoldLok and tonic versus something else?
Well, I mean, that just comes down to the brand awareness, really, and we're a California-based company. We're also out in Las Vegas right now. So we try to hit the two biggest markets first locally, Los Angeles and Las Vegas. Las Vegas, there's a little bit of a challenge. All the locals in Vegas know GoldLok's a great vodka. We are on the strip, but the politics of alcohol, especially a new liquor brand and traffic in Vegas is coming from everywhere around the world. So our exposure is primarily, I guess you can say, our foothold is California. And Las Vegas, we're doing really well with off-premise locations, which means like places that don't serve alcohol on premise. You got to go in there and you buy it, and you take it to your hotel room or wherever you choose to consume it. But
So
you
like a
don't
liquor
consume
store.
like a liquor store, a liquor store, or a place like Total Wine. We're also in Total Wine in Las Vegas. That's one of our test stores that we launched in. But they're doing well. People walk in, they're like, "Oh, what is this? Wow, it's gold bottle. Oh, wow, it's comparable with your premium Grey Goose and Ciroc bottles." So they're willing to take a shot on it, and every single person that has tried it, it's been awesome. The other day there was this thing that happened inside one of the casinos. I was walking around and I had a GoldLok hat on, right? And one of the pit bosses at one of the tables yells out, GoldLok Vodka, right? And I walk up to him and he's like, "Man, I love that vodka. This is my new favorite vodka. My daughter showed this to me on Instagram. We go buy it. And this is amazing. You guys' stuff is great." And stuff like that makes me feel so good, just to get stopped in the middle of a casino floor and have a pit boss call you over and say, "Hey, this is great stuff," and everyone's looking at me like, "What is GoldLok?" And so that's when I know that we really, really have something special.
You mentioned politics a few times in the liquor industry. What do you mean by that?
So, you know what? So this is what I learned, okay? As I started to get a little bit more involved with the liquor business, you have all your major players, right? And all your major players, companies like LVMH, Louis Vuitton, Moet Hennessy, they have a big portfolio of different brands that they own. Also, there's a company by the name of Diageo. They have they own the majority of the large brands that most consumers drink. So these companies, I mean, they're worth billions and billions of dollars. These are the type of companies that go out and buy the Casamigos, the ones that just sold for $1 billion, George Clooney's brand. They're the heavy hitters. So the politics of this is they deal directly with a lot of the large distribution companies, because our margins in alcohol are actually very, very, very slim, right? The money, and at least the profits where you start to make money, is when you land distribution deals. In order to land a distribution deal, you have to get within, you have to prove your sales, of course, right? And there has to be a big enough demand for your alcohol in order for a distribution company to pick it up. So you're in a catch-22 now. How do you grow your brand? How do you get it out there? And how do you distribute the product without a distribution company, right? And with that comes self-distribution. Now, to deal with self-distribution is you're going door to door, trying to set up a meeting with every single bar owner and every single club owner, or wherever they serve alcohol or wherever they purchase alcohol, like stores like BevMo. Those are the larger chains. But you try to start with the boutiques. Like you try to start with all the liquor stores. You try to start with a lot of the smaller chains, and they are approached every single day by all kinds of different alcohol brands, right? And, the challenge with that is that they get approached every single day with all these new brands, right? Even though that, like for me, I believe in the product. I know it's an amazing product. It looks great. It tastes great. I know the quality of the product we have. It's just getting these people to really take a chance on it. And we've been fairly successful with, the places that we have gotten into. But at the same time, there's still so much ground to cover, and you got to do this on a day to day. And remember, there's no profit margin going in and spending all this time trying to get a liquor store to carry your brand. I mean, the gas and time alone, and you can spend all day doing that. And you also do get a lot of people that are going to say no. So you can only imagine how much running around and how much work you have to do into building a liquor brand that's not direct to consumer. There's a lot of layers to this. You have to go through the right outlets in order to get your products on shelves, and you're going to have to wholesale it, and they're not taking bulk orders. They're only taking maybe a case or two at a time, which in reality, you're not making, you can't pay bills by just selling a case or two at a time. So there's a lot of losses that you incur, in the first couple of years of building this brand, and it also takes a lot of time.
Interesting. So I recently listened to another podcast with Jim Koch, founder of Sam Adams Boston Lager, and he also described a similar challenge with, literally going door to door, selling a case or two at a time to every single bar in town. And so it seems like that might be part of the hustle that's required to get it on that shelf space. It sounds like that's something that you're sort of taking on and getting to know a lot of people across the country as you try to get your vodka in stores.
Absolutely. And the great thing is that we have a lot of support. We have a really big team. We have a little bit of an advantage because, Lok, he's in the nightlife industry. So we're able to place it in a lot of the venues that he owns or that he has affiliations with, which is why we're doing so well in Vietnam right now, because he's from Vietnam, and he has some great relationships in Vietnam, and they're really supporting the brand. So if you ever get the chance, and you say go on Instagram and just browse, GoldLok hashtags and whatnot, you'll see a lot of it in Vietnam. And it's only been a year since then, and just to kind of give a reference to some other brands and some other successful brands that have started, from absolutely nothing. Tito's. I admire everything that Tito's has done, how true they've stayed as a brand, and what he did through this process. I mean, he made the vodka himself, like literally distilled the vodka himself out in Texas, and went door to door, was always at bars having people try his alcohol. And it took him a good 10 years to be an overnight success.
But it sounds like from your description of the politics piece of it that there is an element of pay to play where, given enough money, you could get it into every hot club in Vegas and get famous people to endorse it and that sort of thing.
Of course. Well, this is how I look at it, right? There are, without really getting into details of the amount of money that a lot of these companies do pay, like out in Las Vegas, if you go into some of the hottest Las Vegas nightclubs, you see a lot of ads. You see a lot of material for a lot of different brands just posted everywhere. You got bottle service. You got those buckets with logos on them. At the bar, you'll see logos all over the bar tops. That all costs a lot of money. Right. So for us as a boutique brand, and for us not having that type of, marketing budget as these companies do, it's like, what do you do? What do we do on our end to really maximize our exposure without having to spend that kind of money? And like I said, we've had a lot of support and a great team that has helped us grow this organically and have put this online. Through Instagram, and amassed probably over about 15 to 16,000 organic posts, individual posts of just everyday people posting about the bottle, through the course of a year to 2 years. And I mean, I see a lot of, not to name some liquor brands, but I see some brands that are doing fairly well, that are in, places like, your Bevmos and your Total Wines, that if you go on their social media and you really look into, how they present the brand, they don't really have that much engagement, but yet, they're selling. So at this point, we're just waiting for the right opportunity where someone's going to come in and say, hey, we want to carry this, and I know that's going to happen soon. It's inevitable because of the amount of exposure that we have on Instagram. We just got to find the right people to do business with.
How did you attract your famous clientele? I know that you mentioned Instagram a number of times, and when I look at your Instagram, you've got like so many people, promoting and taking part in your brand. How did you attract those folks?
Well, I have a great platform, and this is how a little bit about how this all came about within my journey. I guess we can go back about 5 years ago. Is I was blessed with an opportunity to be a part of this amazing company over here that I'm at right now, at Eurocar. This exotic car dealership. Like I said, we're probably one of the largest in the nation. Doing business all across the United States and sometimes overseas. And through this journey, I've been able to just meet so many amazing people. The people that are coming in to buy these cars, they're not your everyday people. You got a lot of entrepreneurs. I've done some deals with some very influential people that have amazing relationships. And, I've been able to get involved with and be introduced to the relationships that they have, and, just take care of people, and it just grew from there. Through the business that I conduct on a day-to-day basis, I'm able to kind of pivot it with and include what I do with also all this, with the vodka. And yeah, it just all kind of ties into, my lifestyle and my passions. It also helps me build this brand.
So as you continue to grow, what will GoldLok need to do to expand and become a $1 billion business?
That's a really good question, right? Because as this business grows, so do I. So we have to set those targets. We have to say, okay, what do we need to do to make this $1 million in revenue? What do we have to do to 2 million? How am I going to grow with this brand? And until we get there, that's what I'm going to have to find out. So from what I could say right now, for this to be a $1 billion company, I mean, I get all kinds of suggestions. Everyone's always saying, you need to align with a celebrity. You need this person to endorse it. You need this, you need that. A $1 billion company takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of failures, and it takes a little bit of luck. It takes being at the right place at the right time, and slowly growing. But for this to be a $1 billion company, we have to get it in every single state. Just the U.S. alone, I mean, I feel can make us a $1 billion company. But our goal really is, to really get it out to Asia. Asia, there's a huge market in Asia. And building the brand and building, all the content and the lifestyle and what this brand is about out here, and bringing it out to Asia and having them see it, and having all of Asia understand what we're about, and really embracing this brand, I feel is also going to help it really attain, $1 billion fairly quickly. But we'll take we'll take the first step and shoot for the 100 million for now. I think we're okay for that.
So for entrepreneurs who want to develop a food or beverage product, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned so far from building GoldLok that you could pass on to them?
Wow. The biggest lesson, I mean, there's so many lessons really. One is just really being prepared, finding out or really doing the research on what your competition is, and finding value in your product, and not just launching a brand just to launch it. Launch a brand that I feel that really can. How do you feel that you can disrupt the market? What separates yourself from the biggest brands that you feel like you want to compete with? And find your advantage, find your niche. And be realistic with what the steps that you have to take. Of course, the end goal is always to have this worldwide. But starting, you have to be ready to really put in the work and sacrifice and pretty much suffer in the beginning, and take those no's and those punches, and keep getting hit and knocked down, and expect that. Like, that's part of what this is about, and you can't let that bother you. A lot of people will be like, man, I have $1 billion idea. This is the best thing in the world. I know this is going to kill it. and they'll approach a couple people with it, and they'll get their nose, and they pretty much just get turned down from it.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing your GoldLok story. I'd like to move on to our quickfire round, and basically I say a statement and would love to hear your immediate response. So let's start off with, what is your favorite book?
I can say my favorite book right now is one I recently read, Phil Knight's Shoe Dog. That book was absolutely amazing. It's taught me a lot about what he went through as far as building his Nike brand, and it really gave me a huge sense of hope moving forward with GoldLok Vodka. So that was probably the most inspiring book that I've read, and I can say that's my favorite at the moment.
So speaking of GoldLok, what is your favorite GoldLok cocktail?
My favorite GoldLok cocktail, there's so many that people have made for me and I don't even remember the names of them. But I'm fairly simple, and I drink GoldLok all the time. But I would say just a simple, GoldLok pineapple for me is goes down very well. I don't get headaches. I don't wake up in the morning and feel like I'm gonna die. At and I can drink it all night. And have a really good time. So yeah, pineapple GoldLok.
What do you collect, if anything, and why?
I really like sunglasses. I have a pretty nice sunglass collection, and I think that's due to one of the owners here. His name is Larry Sands. He's a legend in the luxury eyewear space. He was one of the founders of he was the founder of Chrome Hearts eyewear. He's launched one of the largest luxury eyewear brands, Shambhala eyewear, and now he has a new line called Paradis, and he's one of the owners here at Eurocar. So I have actually now started to really collect all kinds of different sunglasses because he's here and he influences me he always tells me, he's like, you need more than one pair. So now I'm sitting on probably like 15 pairs of sunglasses.
What's one thing you spend way too much money on that you don't regret?
That I don't regret? Cars. All the time.
What do you what's your daily driver?
My daily driver right now, I'm in a Maserati GranTurismo. But yeah, that's the only car that I have right now that I daily drive, and I love it. I love Italian cars.
Interesting. Okay. So if you could drive any car, money and availability no object, what would it be?
Any car and money? Man, I have so many. Money's no object, huh? I would say I'd love to drive around a LaFerrari, but my favorite car at the moment that I feel like I'm setting a goal for right now that I want to get. I really, really love the Ferrari 458. That is such an amazing car. Ferrari did such an amazing job with that. I mean, compared to its predecessors, you had the Ferrari 360, and then the 430 came out, and then light years ahead as far as technology and just build and performance, you have the 458, and there's such a huge gap between the 430 and the 458 in terms of the car and the technology itself. And I feel like it was a great benchmark car that Ferrari came out, and it's really iconic to me, and I literally sit in one every single day just to motivate myself and do my job.
So what was your dream job when you were a kid?
My dream job? Well, growing up, I've always been into cars, right? But I grew up actually playing golf at a very young age. During the time, I was about 10 years old when I started playing golf. This is like back in 96, 97. Tiger Woods was the man, right? Like, he inspired a whole generation to come out and play golf. So I played golf pretty much my entire youth, and I played competitively. And I always wanted to be a professional golfer. But at that time, I didn't really have the grasp of what success really took. There's dreams and there's the work ethic and drive to make dreams a reality. And in my youth, in my childhood, I had the dream, but I didn't have the work ethic because I didn't understand it. I was great. I was a great golfer. I was really, really good, but hard work will always, beat talent, and I had talent. I just didn't have the work ethic at that time, and it was pretty much too late by the time I decided to say, hey, you know what, this is what let me try to give it another shot. I gave it another run at it, in my early 20s. I'm still I just turned 30, but in my early 20s, I tried to give it another run, and I just didn't have it, So my dream job was to turn pro, but I was always into cars, so I said, you know what, let me give it a shot and go sell some cars, and I've made a career out of being in the car business.
Awesome. And last car question, I promise. Is electric the way of the future?
It seems like it's heading that way, but for me, what I see is Ferrari really coming out or all the big brands coming out and really mirroring what Tesla's going to do. But Tesla, they're gonna put their spin on it. They're gonna share the technology, but they're gonna put their spin on it. To keep their brand as close to what they represent as possible. Tesla's amazing. Electric cars. What Elon Musk is doing is amazing. But as far as enthusiasts goes, people are still going to want to hear the sound of a Ferrari engine.
They do sound amazing. So we're right at the point in the podcast where I give the platform to you. You have the opportunity to plug anything that you like.
I appreciate the time that we spent over here and letting me share this story and this journey that I've been on. I'd like to thank everyone on my team that has supported me and all my friends that have supported me, through the roughest times of my life, because when we did launch GoldLok, I had to go through a really difficult time to get this going, so I took a year off and to go out and pursue this endeavor. I'm now back at Eurocar, so whoever is in the market for an exotic car, please look me up. My Instagram is I am Peter Tang. And you can see all the cars that we sell, and I'm definitely here to take care of that for you.
Awesome. Well, Peter, thank you so much for joining us on the VentureForth podcast and sharing your story today. I'm really excited to see GoldLok continue to grow and become a huge hit, and I'm going to make it a point to ask for a GoldLok and soda the next time I hit the clubs in Vegas. Again, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for sharing your story.
No problem, Joe. Thank you for having me.
If you enjoyed today's show, please subscribe to the VentureForth podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. You can also follow at VentureForth Pod on Twitter for our latest updates. As always, I'm your host, Joe Mahavuthivanij, and thank you for listening to the VentureForth podcast.